Yeah.
I know, total silence when Rick,
What did I do?
we were talking about.
You should have heard.
Here he comes.
I hate that when you walk in a room and everybody stops.
It's because microphones are hot.
So run it back. You can hear it.
Yeah.
You can hear it.
Okay, I think we can get started. Afternoon, we'll call the Fire Territory Board meeting together. Start Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. I think there's a lot of first responders down in Florida who would appreciate a moment of silence as hard as they're working. I know we talked to council last night a little bit about government moving ahead in spite of all the concerns, and I know there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of work to be done down there. So I think we all keep them in our thoughts and prayers. So with that, it appears we have a quorum. Let the the minutes reflect that Mike Clondaris is absent, but we do have a quorum of 4. All right, so let's move into the approval of the minutes from September 6th. Is there a motion to approve them as presented?
I make the motion.
All right, thanks, Jeannie. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. Pass 4-0. Let's dive into reports, oral written communications. Lutheran, you ready? Yeah. Just in time.
I know, just in time. So you guys got a copy of our August report. We had a very busy month in August with a total encounters of 507 calls. Again, had a large percent of those patients that were treated and transported locally, focusing on keeping that care close to home. So looking through our report, runs pretty consistent with the rest of our months. One focus that I try to take out of every month, trying to get our crews to kind of continue to challenge them, I guess. And you'll see our return to service time was a little bit longer. It was only 56 seconds compared to months previous, but 56 seconds can be a difference, especially in our career field. So that was kind of our challenge that we took, and you'll see a big change through that in the month of September. But otherwise, in August, we really focused, we were able to start our community outreach. We were able to have 2 car seat events through the month of August. We had a total of 57 car seat inspections with a total of 22 car seats handed out through the month of August. That was really our big focus through the month of August. So,
Could you explain to me the time limits on return to service from when to when?
like what that actually is, that
Yep.
time. So that time is specific to when they go out to the hospital versus to when they go back in service. So what that means is from the time they actually pulled to the hospital campus to the time they went back in service. So sometimes that has a tendency, a little chatty Cathy-ness happens, and they don't necessarily get back in service that much quicker.
Okay.
So that's where we focus on that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt if you have anything
No,
else.
that
Okay.
was it.
All right, other questions?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Chief, you want to go through the monthly activity report?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening. So we also had a busier month in August with 361 calls, 35 of which were fire related. That can range from just fire alarms to fires to trash fires. Some notable fires that we had a structure fire on 3729 Southeast Trail. That was down in Burkett. We were there for about 8 hours, and it was a complete loss. It was very tough on the guys' axes, right down by that lake. We had, and I think it was like 25 tender shuttles that we had to do. The guys did a great job. They were whooped. It kicked out wee hours of the night, and they weren't in service till shift change the next morning. That was a big fire that we helped out with Burkett. We had another fire at 3529 West 100. That was a mobile home. We assisted Atwood in extinguishment and overhaul. And we had a vehicle fire on East 250 South, extinguished, no exposures. Barn fire, we assisted Sydney in 677 South State Road 13. We were there for a few hours as well. That was a complete loss in the barn. It's a little ways from here to get to Sydney, but guys did a good job. They got there quick and called for help quick. We had another vehicle fire on 1000 South Zimmer Road, extinguished with no exposures. Commercial fire at Zimmo Biomed, building number 5. It was their dust collector. Metal starts on fire, and there kind of smoked out the building. We used the tightest fans that night. And then we had a trash fire on 1998 West US 30 along the road. It was basically just dumped there and set on fire. It was extinguished with no real exposures. It was just a small grass fire after that. Moving down to the assists, we assisted, as mentioned, we assisted Burkett at the house fire on East Trail. We assisted Atwood fire on West 100, the barn fire with Sydney, and then we actually had a very in-depth grain bin rescue TRT that we assisted North Webster in that month. It was guys did an excellent job. The patient is in great condition right now. He has no deficits. It was a really good rescue, really good cooperation between departments. They called us right away, and we got up there in a pretty decent amount of time. It was up at unfamiliar territory to me, but it was 6890 East, 650 North, and there's really no easy way to get there, and the guys got there pretty dang quick. We were assisted, or we had mutual aid received from Burkett, Leesburg, and Winona on the night that the Zimmer Biomed building, the commercial fire at Zimmer Biomed. And that was the only help we asked for that last month. Moving on down to emergency medical response. District 1 had 99, District 2 had 68, District 3 had 34 for a total of 201, which put us up about another 20 additional calls roughly from the month previous, just in EMS. CARES calls, we had 67, which is very comparable to the July numbers at 66, so we're kind of holding strong. That's still a tremendous amount of CARES call in a month's time frame. So if we're holding strong there, she's got plenty of work to do, and she's doing her and Chris are doing a great job. Do you have anything that you would like to add as far as CARES? Any updates? Okay. We had one particular storm last month. In August. I don't recall the date, but it came through here, and it put a lot of trees down on houses. So we were buzzing all over town, making sure all the homeowners were safe and were able to stay in their home. And we did have to relocate some because the roof did collapse on a few. So that storm brought some challenges that day, stressing our resources a little bit. Training hours for the month was 1,470, and we didn't do any community service because Max's team's gearing up for the kindergarten program. It's starting soon, as well as the firefighter for the day program. And also the dive team has expressed interest with our public education team and starting a water safety program for either the middle school or high school. They haven't really decided yet. And it would be implemented perhaps next year if all parties were to agree and all that stuff. So our dive team wants to kind of teach them just life jackets and safety around water and how to tread water and all that stuff. So I thought that was really neat. Other than that, that is all I have.
All right. And severe weather was August 29th.
Was it 29th?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a day.
Not that it matters, but I know you mentioned that. Any questions?
Well, one comment, one question. Kudos to the technical rescue guys. It's just surprising how many technical rescue incidents we've had within the area. So we're part of the district team, which is District 2, South Bend, Elkhart, Goshen. And the Warsaw guys have done more technical rescue than probably the rest of the departments combined. It's just been one of those things. They've done a fantastic job. Glad you pointed that out, Chief. Just super proud to be affiliated with a department that does so well for the size of city we have. We're just really good. So
Yeah,
it's,
well, they're super passionate about it too, which makes it all the better.
Yep.
And it's funny that you bring the training up, is we actually had the trench Mavis drill that very same day. So Mavis was actually struck on that call, and a few of them made it down from Elkhart and Goshen as well. It was a really good call.
Yeah.
It was they did a really good job.
and then the question that I had was on the CARES. So let's see, where is that? 46 calls in District 1, 15 District 2, 4 in District 3. It's disproportionate in District 1. Is there a particular place that she's going to, or?
He has a answer for you. Yes.
I don't want to call any particular place out in a, yes. There are a couple of places that she is spending more time than other places.
Okay.
And some of it is, we're actually getting referrals from APS to CARES, which is not the essence of what that program was supposed to be. And it is not. We try to not do that.
What is APS?
Adult Protective Services. But we have people who are fighting chronic mental illnesses and having mental health issues, and she's doing a lot of visits with them to just make sure they have what they need, and then she moves on down the road. But some of those are repeat callers and issues, and it's, we've got a couple of folks that we're dealing with that are currently homeless that we're visiting with and trying to get into different situations to try to help them. And we usually meet them in the downtown area as well. So we're really trying to, we've kind of slimmed down that CARES program to say, mental health crisis situations, repeated callers, what can we do to help clean that up for them? Because then it helps everybody. It takes the weight off of all the other resources. And then it's, and I'm going to ask a little bit later because I didn't get it on the agenda, but that resource funnel of trying to get people to a resource that already exists. As I've said many times, we have a lot of resources in our community, but it's getting people pushed to that spot. So she does spend quite a bit of time doing that as well. But it seems lately we've had a lot more mental health calls that we've been dealing with, and different people. It's a struggle right now. People are struggling, and she is constantly busy with that. We just met with an elderly female today and her son, who wouldn't talk to Michaela but would talk to me, which happens. Oddly enough, some people find me easy to talk to, and we were able to try to get him pointed in the right direction. But then as soon as we left, his mother called and said, well, he took off again. So we're going to be back out with that situation, trying to de-escalate what they're going through. So it is disproportionate, but Michaela's been a great resource for us in the position she's in, and I think she's doing a great job for what we're asking her to do. So
Yeah, I was able to spend some time with her last week and go through her manual, and basically it sticks pretty much to the original intent of emergent mental health care crises. But it makes sense to go on some of these calls to try and prevent those emergency calls. Either the home inspections to make sure that, if there's a bad step or a trip or fall hazard, and we can get a referral and try and get that taken care of, so we don't have the emergent call. And as he mentioned, frequent flyers, you try and work with them, get them placed. The idea is that we interface with them in an emergency situation, and then we've got resources to whatever needs they have. And there's a pretty broad range of needs. So I think Michaela and Chris are doing a great job lining those resources up and then making sure that we stick, because, this thing, you could have 600 calls a day if we did everything related to those types of situations. But we're trying to just keep focused. We've only got really one individual doing it, and Chris is just jumping in because we're already busy. But I feel like the program has come along really well from the original intention, and I agree, we've got great staff, including you and Michaela, and they're doing a good job.
And just to close out this, we're actually setting up, I believe the 14th, we're having a stakeholders meeting for the CARES program to really get just an update, all of those stakeholders. We've got people from the county, the city, the Bowen Center Group, Combined Community Services, the schools. We've put all of those people in a group to really try to give us some guidance. So we're going to update them, I think the 14th. We're having a meeting to just kind of let them know where we're at, because it's just blown up, so.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Let's move into the monthly expenditures. We'll start with the operating fund, 2243. That's been presented for your approval.
I highlighted just a few on here on page 3, the appropriation detail history. We got diesel and gasoline, 4,800 and 1,600. And then on page 5 of the appropriation detail, we got 749 going to truck 1. Truck is not cheap.
Is that back in service?
It is. It is. On page 7, we have gas and electric, 1,400. And then on page 8, that's the service for 13-1. That was when it was in Indy for many months, the 7,200, which I was oddly relatively pleased with. I thought it was going to be much more than that. Then ice machine repairs at Station 1, I believe that was at 1,800. And then we did have doors and a windshield installed on the Polaris at the very bottom of page 9 for 2,380, all 4 doors and a windshield. And as far as the operation, that is all of it.
Questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve the expenditures for August?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Thanks, Gordy. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Passed 4-0. Next item would be the equipment replacement fund. Looks like there wasn't too much activity.
No, the one big one is truck bay door, Station 2. We had all the garage doors replaced on what would be the south side because they were just really old. There was gaps. We were losing a lot of heat in the wintertime. And the north side was replaced 2 years prior for half the price. So the inflation kind of hit that one. It was a little expensive, but now we got an airtight bay, and hopefully it'll keep the utility bills down for this winter. So step 1 in a little bit of renovation for that station.
And you anticipated that, I know, especially
Yeah.
in the budget next year as well. There's a lot of repairs that are
Yeah.
trying to keep up with.
Yes, sir.
All right. Questions? Again, is there a motion to approve expenditures from the Equipment Replacement Fund?
Make the motion.
Thanks, Jeannie. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Gordy, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, pass 4-0. All right, with no unfinished business, we've got some new business. We've got an MOU between the county and the city. And Chief, if you would explain, and I know Ed, you're here to guide us through this.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick synopsis of this. So this is regarding the radio system between the county and us, the city. So this MOU is for the city of Warsaw, Warsaw-Wayne Fire Territory, agreeing upon the direction, guidance, and plan set forth by the committee and county commissioners. It states the terms and conditions, respective intentions and agreements and expectations. Additional questions regarding it can be answered by Mr. Rock, EMA. He is in the audience today. He has a lot more. All the city jurisdictions they're wanting an MOU from everybody.
Ed, welcome. Good to see you.
Hey, same here.
Yeah.
Just to put it in perspective for you, when you guys signed up to work on the 800 megahertz system initially, you had to sign an MOU with the state of Indiana. This system is now basically owned by the commissioners. And so all we're doing is filling in that gap so that everybody is on the same page. The commissioners put into place a committee, which is pretty wide range. It's not just the county. It's all of the different jurisdictions, our representatives from different agencies. And this is the guidance that this basically is saying is that we're going to abide by what is going on with that committee and what that committee has recommended to the commissioners, and then the commissioners approve that this is the way we are going to operate our system. And we're doing that to protect our system. Right now, there is no mutual aid being given to anyone outside of Kosciuszko County, flat nobody. And in fact, there are some businesses like Grace College wanted to be on this system. And we said, we've got to keep this clean to start with for that first year to make sure that we don't have any issues. And if we do have issues, we know where to look to fix that issue. And so this is basically the same thing as you would do with the state, only since we are owning the system as far as the county and the commissioners are concerned, all you're doing is signing that MOU with the county. Was that too confusing?
No, not at all.
No?
Ed, is
I have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you don't mind, Mayor. So the way I understand this, the county owns the system that's going to be utilized by each of the political subdivisions.
Right.
Is the way I understand it. And the subdivisions, they will actually be the ones who own and secure the actual radios themselves to be used?
Actually, the commissioners were able to purchase radios, portable radios and mobile radios for all of the jurisdictions in Kosciuszko County. Now, I think there were a couple that opted out and not going with that route, but that's their choice.
Okay.
Pardon me?
Is that partnerships?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Because, and the issue there is that the ongoing maintenance, you know, it's
Right.
going to be
On the
an expense.
Yeah, the individual political subdivisions are responsible for maintaining, repairing, and/or replacing.
Exactly.
And, okay,
The initial glut of this to get everybody to the system was covered by the commissioners or county government. And so we're taking care of that. Some of it came out of the ARPA funds. So we're taking care of that initial cost to get, because that's the big one. And then, just like you do for any other radio, you put money in the budget to repair, replace, and so we're back to even at least, relatively so.
Okay. The other question I had was, in section 3, it talks about the use of the units themselves, and the county has authority to disable the units if there's any evidence of abuse, misuse, or other actions. How will the individual subdivisions be notified? I mean, obviously, when it doesn't work, they're gonna know, but at the same time, I guess in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if there's an issue, notify, for example, Chief Holderman to maybe do some,
That's a good point. And
within within the department itself, to, hey, firefighter number 4, hey, we got this notification. I mean, will there be notification? It doesn't say.
that is an excellent point that has not been flushed out. So
Okay.
I will take that back to the committee and say, what is our protocols here and how are we going to follow through with this to make sure that people know, here's why you got shut off.
Okay.
It's a good point.
But yeah, I reviewed it. I didn't have, other than those questions, just to make sure I understand it, I didn't see any major issues with it.
And as far as under 1, the subscriber units, it says the political subdivision will maintain the units in proper working condition. Are you talking about the radios?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
As far as the maintenance and management of the towers,
That is on the county.
okay. So, as far as the fire territory here, what representation do we have on that PSC? It shows representative of County Fire Association, representative of law enforcement, representative of EMS, and representative of fire services.
Right, and I'm trying to remember all of the people that
Joel
are
Schilling.
sitting around the table, but,
So we've got representation
Oh,
on
yeah.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just curious where that comes in. How about on law enforcement side?
law enforcement, we have got, the sheriff's department is represented, the Winona Lake Police is represented, and who else? Seems like there's another law enforcement.
Who's there for Warsaw PD? Because I know Travis Marsh is the sheriff.
Right, from the sheriff's department, yeah. And then Foster from Winona Lake. That may be,
Is it Keller?
oh, yes,
Brad Keller?
Yeah.
Right,
Brad
okay.
Keller.
All right,
he usually remotes in, so I'm trying to picture in the room where, who's there, and
okay. So this is primarily to discourage and prevent misuse of this very critical communication.
expensive and very
And
critical
expensive. Okay.
resource.
Yep. No, I get it. I completely get it. Other questions? All right. So this will have to go to the Board of Works, but they would certainly want your endorsement before that happens.
I had to sign one as trustee.
Yeah, each political subdivision will have to do that,
I
correct?
already did.
Okay. So, how's the board feel about this?
I'm thankful for the attorney for your input on that.
Yeah.
So having said that, I'm comfortable making a motion to accept the MOU.
All right. Is there a second?
I second.
Before I take the vote, do you have any concerns? I know Ed said he was going to check into an item for you.
Not necessarily, it just wasn't spelled out.
Just
so I
wanna
wanted-
clarify.
Yeah, I wanted that clarified, because shutting somebody off means that they don't have access to it, which is a pretty extreme measure, where, there could be a situation where a chief, for example, I keep using Chief Holderman because he's here, but, there could be an internal thing where someone may be doing something that they're not even aware is in violation. So then the question then becomes, all right, how do they get turned back on, or how do they get access again?
Well, is that referring to the 800 channel? Because IPSC isn't,
No, that would be the 700s.
Because
The
IPSC's
actual
not.
system that the commissioners have put in place, not the state system.
Right, well, who regulates the
If you shut
700?
radio off, you're not going to be operating on the state system either.
Right, because
It's
IPSC,
disabling
yeah,
the
they'll
radio.
shut you, I know IPSC will shut you down if you're doing something you're not
IPSC
supposed
can
to
do
on the
the same
800
thing. I mean,
channel.
it's
That was
part
the
of
reason
their-
why we didn't want the other departments to
Yep.
have the radios.
Yeah, I think we've taken those precautions.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
assuming there's that sort of language with the state MOU that we had before, that if you're abusing, or is there not that sort of language in the MOU with the state, with the 800? Is it the same kind of language in that agreement?
Yes, it is understood that if you do not work within the guidelines of the state of Indiana for, or IPSC, for this particular system, for the 800 system, which that's what I refer to as the state system, then they have the ability just to kill your ID and your radio, and just shut it off. And it doesn't matter, I mean, state would have the ability to shut off our access to the 700 even, if that's what they choose to do, if there is some violation.
But it's a common
Yes.
language in the MOU for radio use, then, is what I'm-
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the state could exact power over the system that the county owns?
They could we have to go through the state of Indiana to get the IDs for the phone, or
Okay.
for the radios.
Okay.
And the IDs are what can be canceled. Once you do not have an ID, it won't talk to the tower and say, hey, I'm a radio that's supposed to be on this system. So regardless of whether you were trying to get on 700 or 800, it's going to not recognize you as an individual or a radio.
Gotcha. Okay.
But IPSC does not regulate or monitor the 700 system. They monitor and regulate the 800 system.
Right.
So if you're saying something on a different channel that you're not supposed to on 800 or the state system, they can cut you off. Where we have direct channels and encrypted channels to where nobody can hear us. IPSC's they're not on the 700 system at all, so that's why we kind of chose that. Plus, it's a little bogged down. There's a lot of people on the 800 channel. So it's like our secondary, and then VHF will be our third, our backup in case those towers, something were to happen to those towers, God forbid.
Okay. So there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, who did the second?
I think Jeannie
Ms.
did.
Stackhouse.
I made the motion and Jean
Jeannie,
seconded.
okay, oh, that's right, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, passes 4-0 and be sent to the Board of Works with a favorable recommendation. So appreciate that. Ed, it may not hurt for you to come to the Board of Works. Do you? Okay. All right, thank you.
Penciled in for both days. Appreciate you coming, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chief made sure that I was lined up with both.
All right. All right, we've got one travel request.
Yes, so this particular travel request is already, they've already went and they're already back. And we were kind of at the whim of Schmiel. This is the pre-construction trip, so they kind of, it's in that contract when you sign it. You get to go back and check out the truck a few times a year on their dime, and they kind of bought the plane tickets, gave us the dates. And we got verbal permission from the mayor telling him that we will bring it to the next Fire, Terry, and Board of Works meeting. So just requesting your permission.
So I've already approved it, so I'll make the motion to,
I second it.
any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thanks for doing that, chief, appreciate it.
Yes.
All right,
I did tell them to let Schmiel know to give us more of a heads up next time. I don't want to make a habit of doing this to the boards, so they know. Hopefully that's a one-time deal.
all right, any other matters to come before the board?
Chief Ansel had one item.
Chief?
I actually had two things, actually. One of them, the mayor's already aware of. We did, I think it's been in the paper, the R-Corp grant. We worked with Bowen, my goodness, it was like a year ago, I think, to apply for a grant through them. That grant was awarded to the group. It is $1 million over, I believe, 3 years. We initially were going to use that money to pay for the CARES person. However, we've already done that, so we're trying to figure out what that's going to look like, and I have no other guidance other than the fact that we did get the grant. We just had our first meeting the other day to talk about what that means and how we're gonna do that, how we're gonna get funding, how that's gonna separate out, and I don't have anything else for you on that. As we get more information, I'll bring that to you so you know what we're gonna do with that. But initially, it was to pay for the CARES person. So the mayor was gracious enough to already figure out a way to do that a different way, so we'll have to figure that out. The second thing is, I did not get it in the packet, but we have a deadline of November 1st, so I want to get it before you as quickly as we can. I want permission to apply for a grant through the Kosciuszko Foundation to pay for part of, and the rest of it's going to be manpower mostly that we already are paying for and we're already utilizing in a different way. But one of the things we figured out with CARES is that resource funnel. As we met with K-21, we met with the school system, we met with the hospital, we met with Laura Deal Decker out at the K-21 pavilion, became pretty obvious that there are multiple lists of resources that different people have compiled. They're spending a lot of legwork to put that together. It's redundant. We want to put together one central list of resources that will have a QR code that you can scan. It will take you to the list. It will offer help with housing, food, childcare, mental health care, healthcare costs, all of those things. We want to basically really make that funnel work, kind of create a subgroup that will keep that alive. Sadly, a lot of not-for-profits don't survive. And if somebody has the strength to reach out for help, we want to make sure somebody's there to give them the help that they're reaching for. The way to do that is to try to centralize that list. We've kind of got, we had Sarah Graham from the high school was interested in helping with that. Holly Swoverland was helping with that, as well as Karen Smith in our office, all kind of working together to pull those lists. We've also had a commitment or an offer to help from the foundation itself and Live Well Kosciuszko of almost mapping the entire county for resources using interns. So we want to approach the foundation for the money to set up that webpage, get that QR code really streamlined and cleaned up, and get something in place that's one list. It would have a side for first responders and a side for the general public. So as that police officer is out at 2 a.m. with that person who doesn't have a place to go, they can very quickly make a phone call or two and get them the help that they might need if we're unavailable as a CARES group. I think we need to get on board with that. It's really, with all the resources we do have in the community, there's just not one list. We got a list from, and we currently use a QR code that we kind of borrowed from Fellowship Mission, came up with a web page with the QR code, and we're utilizing that currently. But as Karen went down through there to verify things with Laura Dale Decker, she was told how many of them are not even active anymore. So I really feel like this is a time where we can clean that up and pull it together and make it work for the
So
community.
Chris, you might have said, but who's going to provide the ongoing maintenance to do just that?
Karen in our office has said that she would be willing to. There's apparently, and I'm not an IT person for a variety of reasons, but there's a way to send out automated, yes, you're still there, yes, these are the services you provide, and that would come back to the system. So then it could just be updated in the system.
Got it.
Once it's set up and running, it would be just that. Just a, hey, are you still there? Do you still provide these services? Can we keep you on the system?
Yep.
And Karen has said that she'd be able to do that for us. She's taken on some CARES duties as well and been really helpful in that. So, and I think Chief's been gracious enough to let us borrow her to make those things happen, and she's really good at it. So if she's willing to keep it live, why have all of these other entities redoing this when we could just make it one thing? I'd like to keep them part of it. I don't want to be the sole owners of this. I'd like to have a group of people that maintains that, which I don't want to be part of.
So you're going to come to the Board of Works and
Yes, sir.
request that you apply for that grant? And
Yes, sir.
make that same explanation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think this is that last rung of the CARES program, that resource push. And that's what we're trying to do with this, is clean that up.
When did you say the meeting is? Did you say there's a meeting for the different resources?
Well, so the grant deadline is November 1st to have the application in. But in dealing with the Live Well Kosciuszko folks, they're willing to help us with this if we can move forward. So there's really no meeting set for that, but they certainly think that they could offer some assistance with that. It's oddly enough something they've been looking at for a while.
And back to the other issue, the grant, the Bowen Center grant.
Yes, sir.
I know when you and I looked at it, it was pretty limited to how those funds could be used. So what you're saying is that there potentially is other uses for us, for those funds. They have to be, is it approved by Bowen Center?
No, there are some, as we discussed
Or just
yesterday.
meets the guidelines of the grant?
Yes, sir. Yeah. And what, the way that grant works is that Bowen was the group that applied for the
Sure.
grant. They're the financial oversight.
They're responsible for it, right?
Yeah, but as long as we meet the guidelines that are set forth, which, as we talked yesterday, seems like it fits right in with what we're trying to do. I'm not sure, again, and I've met with the mayor about this, I'm not sure how that is, we're not sure yet. We have to figure out as we move forward what that looks like. Even Bowen's not sure how it's going to work.
Right.
They wanted contact information, a backup contact information, and if we've already hired the person or people that we had applied for. I know Fellowship Mission was looking at some peer recovery counselors that they want to add to their staff to help people get through things. There were several things in there, but I definitely think we're still within the walls of the guidance that they've
Yeah,
given
I've got
us.
some ideas, so
Okay,
talk about that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So for now, again, I'll bring more information about that R-Corp thing as we get it.
Great.
We just don't have it yet. And then I think Bowen's trying to figure out how that money is going to pass through their hands as well. They're not sure what that looks like, so. But if we could just have from you folks permission to apply for that grant through the foundation, we can get started on this other process.
Do you all feel comfortable making that recommendation?
Yes,
All right. Is that a motion, Gordy?
I so move.
Okay. Second and third. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your work.
And I'll come to Board of Works and do the same
Yeah.
thing, so.
All
Perfect,
right.
thank you.
All right. Anything else come before the board? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
This is for the other thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Alicia?
Yeah.